So I was saying to you that I've heard 3 different times within the hour the question, how did I get here? And one person was saying it from the standpoint of their life falling apart and not knowing what to do now. You were saying it, why?
I was saying it because I'm in a space where I'm starting some new projects. Then I remember over the last 2 years, at different points, having had thought about or having had conversation about, but I didn't do them. Yeah, I didn't feel like I had the ability to do them, and so now I'm sitting and I'm realizing that all of a sudden I've just started them. It wasn't anything that happened necessarily. I just started them, and and so I was asking the question, like how did I get here? But when I really think about it, like I know, like I think before, like when I think about the conversation.
Let me say this before you get going, because the third person
Mhm.
was leading into exactly what it feels like you're about to say.
Mhm.
His question was, how did I get here? And he answered it with your mindset. And so you were going to say what?
I was gonna say that, I guess basically that I was like I think maybe like and I should say more than a year ago. I had the thoughts a year ago, but I'd say maybe like 2 years ago at this point. Really, I remember is when I first started thinking about um, kind of stepping out and trying some different things. And at the time, I didn't feel like I had the qualification to then say, okay, now I can bring other people into this. And
Somebody didn't, you felt like you needed the stamp of approval from outside.
yeah, so there are just certain things I don't even like. They were thoughts, right? But they weren't thoughts that stuck for very long. I just thought, it might be cool. I could see it in the future at some point, after I'd gotten to a different point. And I think the only thing that shifted was I decided that what I was doing was going to work in a different way, I think, because I had that thought beforehand, but at the time I really didn't know how it was going to work. So I was busy trying to figure out how it was going to work. And this time I didn't really do that. I just kind of did it. And the pieces are just kind of falling into place, but it was also a desire to actually see my life represent the work that's been put into myself, you know.
I thought it was, I want to go back a little bit um, because I know there have been times in the past where I heard, you know, um, how did you get here because of your mindset? And when you're in um, a shadow time, or when you're even just in some kind of transition, some kind of experiencing some kind of loss, um, it's easy to get into your feelings because your feelings are wide open and think that my mindset, I did this to myself. And we get lost in the judgment, the blame, and or the rejection at that point, and we don't go past that.
Hmm.
Going past that is like, don't don't get caught blaming yourself. Dig deeper. What were you believing about yourself at that time? What were you believing about the people around you? What were you believing about life? What were you believing about motherhood or parenthood? What are the things that you were believing? Because when we say it's your mindset, it doesn't mean that you're some toxic, unworthy being. And I think people get offended or get hurt and they get stuck
Mm-hmm.
because they reject that feeling instead of saying, okay, wait a minute, what's being said to me?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to get to the other side, you can't skip this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was I believing about marriage?
Mm-hmm.
What was I believing about my role as a wife? We have to get really curious because that's the only way we bring the light,
Yeah.
by putting our attention there. Um, and because I heard that comment from you, I heard it from two other people. I was like, okay, wait a minute. We can't skip over this. How does this apply to me?
Mm-hmm.
What am I choosing now? How am I loving on myself? How am I in my relationships? What's going on with me?
Yeah. And when you were when you were talking, I went back a little bit more to think about what else was going on in my life. And I had just lost my daughter, so and for me that was a huge hit on my confidence as a woman. I think I mean among other things, but that was a major hit. My ability to be powerful. So then the question of, okay, well, can I do these things, right? Can I and not even that they're all the projects that I'm starting out are the same exactly that I was thinking of then, but they all required me to step into a position of belief of myself, and believing that I had the ability to do it, and not just the ability, but it was waiting there for me. All I had to do was make the decision to do it and move on.
I think the other piece, though, in addition to changing your mind, was also recognizing that you didn't need a stamp of approval on your own downloads from someone else who never even
Hmm.
got the download.
Yeah, yeah. Just really believing that what is for you and what is yours is yours. I think uh, when I look back on that time and I look at the transition to this time, the fear then was, do I have the ability? You know what I mean? And not feeling secure enough in the ability, and in myself and what it took to carry that out and it really be something. And then what if it flopped? Did I have the confidence to stand even though it flopped? And so now I'm doing it, but I've also made a lot of other accomplishments along the way that now have me in a place where I'm like, okay, well, how far are we gonna take this? How high are we gonna go? It's a shift. I'm learning to balance it even in the shift of, okay, now kind of having anxiety moments around realizing how open it is. I think having that realized that I was the key, right? When you realize that, you realize how many doors are there, and it's infinite doors, and it's like, okay.
What do you want?
And that's a huge question. That's a huge question. It's a huge question realizing that you don't have any limitations, or there's no restrictions. There's nothing. What do you want to do? And I'm noticing how even the small things that have been happening that are, or, and I shouldn't say small, but they appeared small at first. I'm realizing that they are the small steps that lead to the bigger pictures of some of the things that I wanted and, want to manifest.
Yeah.
So,
So, last time we talked, we were um, talking about this being a 7 year. And
hmm
so, again, it goes back into that. Um, you are going to be brought face to face with you.
mm
And for some, it will be a very beautiful thing. I think for some people, it will be a very scary thing, not even recognizing what they're looking at
hmm
or rejecting it because it is unfamiliar, And so, again, it's key not to get stuck,
hmm
not to get stuck in a fear based reaction,
yeah.
you know.
hmm Yeah, there's an acceptance,
Hmm.
and that acceptance balances it out. You know what I mean? Because it's not like anytime you go into a new space, you're gonna have you might have a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of fear, whatever that comes up,
You may
but
have a lot.
or you may have a lot. But that doesn't mean that you don't do it. It doesn't mean that you don't find that space of balance in there. That's like, okay, yes, but right.
That's when you have to learn to, and sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes you're experiencing something really good.
Yeah, yeah.
But when it is a shadow side, that's when you have to learn to stand in the center of that storm,
hmm Unmoving
unmoving,
with unwavering faith
you know.
and self, really. You have to know how you have to be able to do that. And I think that was one of the things that helped me to accomplish some of the bigger things.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of change and a lot of shifting that needed to happen and take place, and it was very deep. And it's not that it's not deep. I'm just experiencing, I think, a different aspect of this this path,
Hmm.
right? Because there's a certain solidity I feel like I found within myself, and that I'm finding. You know what I mean? So it's shifting. It's a different perspective.
Hmm.
Mm.
All right.
Alrighty.